The rain in Seattle didn't fall in drops. It hovered. It clung to the air like a grey veil, soaking jackets, culling hair, and turning every streetlight into a blurry halo. By the time Emily Carter left the hospital that evening, her sneakers were already damp from the walk to the bus stop earlier that morning. She pulled her thin coat tighter and hurried toward the parking lot where her aging Honda Civic waited. The car wasn't pretty, a dent on the rear bumper, a faint rattle when it idled, but it was dependable. Like her, Emily checked the time on her phone. शाम के 7 बजने में 18 मिनट बाकी. Noah was at Mrs. Hernandez's apartment downstairs, probably finishing his math homework and asking every 5 minutes when his mom would be home. Emily hated being late. It made her feel like she was failing at something she was already barely managing. Life had become a chain of habits, small, necessary rituals that kept everything from collapsing. Wake at सुबह के 5:30 बजे. Make oatmeal. Pack Noah's lunch. Leave a sticky note with a smiley face in his backpack. Work 8 hours processing insurance claims. Ignore rude phone calls. Smile anyway. Come home. Repeat. It wasn't exciting, but it was survival. And survival required discipline. As she turned onto Pike Street, rain tapping steadily against the windshield, she felt the familiar exhaustion settle into her shoulders. Her thoughts drifted to unpaid bills stacked neatly on the kitchen counter. To the online business course she was slowly working through at night. To the quiet dream she carried, one day moving Noah into a better neighborhood, maybe even buying a small house with a yard. The traffic light turned red. Emily sighed and leaned back slightly. That's when she saw him. Across the intersection, near the bus stop bench, stood an elderly man struggling against the storm. His umbrella had flipped inside out, metal ribs exposed like broken bones. The wind pushed him sideways, his thin coat plastered against his frame. A wooden cane trembled in his hand. Cars passed him without slowing, their tires spraying dirty water onto the curb. He took one cautious step forward, and slipped. Emily's heart jumped. He didn't fall completely, but he staggered, catching himself at the last second. Still, it was enough. Enough to make her grip tighten around the steering wheel. Her mind reacted instantly. You were late. It's dark. You're done. Know him. Someone else will stop. The light turned green. Cars behind her began to honk. For 1 second, just one, she considered driving forward. Then she saw him cough. A deep, shaking cough that bent him over as rain poured down his back. And in that moment, something stronger than convenience took over. It wasn't heroism. It wasn't impulse. It was habit. Her mother's voice echoed from memory, if you can help, you help. No excuses. Kindness isn't occasional. It's practiced. Emily turned on her blinker and pulled to the curb. Ignoring the irritated honk behind her, she grabbed the umbrella from the passenger seat and stepped out into the cold rain. Sir, she called gently as she approached. Are you okay? The man looked up, startled. His face was lined deeply with age, silver hair plastered to his forehead. But his eyes, sharp, intelligent, observant, studied her carefully. I'm fine, he said, though his voice trembled slightly. Just waiting for a cab. Emily glanced at the empty road. I don't think one's coming in this weather. He attempted a dignified smile. We managed worse. Another cough interrupted him. Without thinking further, she said the words that had become instinct. Please, get in. I'll take you home. He blinked at her. You're done, know me. That's okay, she replied calmly. You look like you need help. That's enough. Rain dripped from the edge of her umbrella onto her sleeve. She didn't seem to notice. For a long moment, he simply studied her face, searching, perhaps, for hesitation or hidden motive. He found none. Finally, he nodded once. Inside the Honda, the heater hummed to life. Emily handed him a small clean towel from the back seat, one she kept for Noah's soccer games. Thank you, he murmured, drying his face. Where to? Magnolia District. She paused for half a heartbeat. Magnolia. That was nearly 20 minutes away, and in the opposite direction of her apartment. Still, she nodded. Okay. They drove in quiet for the first few minutes, rain streaking across the windshield in silver lines. Soft classical music played faintly from the radio. You have a child, the man observed, glancing at the booster seat. Yes, Noah, 8 years old. You're heading to pick him up. She smiled faintly. Yes, I'm a little late, and yet you stopped. She shrugged. It's what you do. What if I were dangerous? He asked, though there was curiosity rather than accusation in his tone. She considered that. I guess I believe most people aren't. He watched her carefully. Optimistic. No, she said quietly. Practical. If I start assuming everyone is bad, I'll become someone I don't like. That answer seemed to interest him. Streetlights passed overhead as they entered quieter roads lined with tall trees. The rain began to soften, thinning into mist. What do you do for work? He asked. Hospital billing clerk. Is that your ambition? She laughed lightly. No, it's my paycheck. And your ambition? She hesitated, then answered honestly. To build something stable. Maybe start my own healthcare consulting service someday. But right now, I just focus on doing what's in front of me well. He nodded slowly. Habits, he said. Yes, she replied. Habits keep things from falling apart. They turned into Magnolia. Large houses emerged through the fog, elegant architecture, manicured lawns, long private driveways. Emily's grip tightened slightly on the steering wheel. Left here, he directed. She followed his instructions until the car slowed in front of a gated estate overlooking the water. Warm lights glowed behind towering windows. The lawn stretched wide and immaculate. Emily's breath caught. Security cameras rotated quietly toward them. The gates began to open. She turned to him fully now. He no longer looked like a fragile stranger in the rain. He looked powerful. He reached for the door handle, then paused. You didn't ask my name, he said. She smiled gently. You didn't ask mine. A small, approving smile touched his lips. My name is Robert Whitmore. The name hit her like a sudden gust of wind. Whitmore Industries, tech giant, philanthropist, billionaire CEO. Her pulse quickened. Oh, she managed. And yours? He asked softly. Emily Carter. He repeated it slowly, as if committing it to memory. Emily Carter, he said. You have a rare habit. He stepped out of the car as a security guard hurried forward with an umbrella. Then he leaned back slightly toward her window. Tomorrow, he said thoughtfully, will be interesting. Before she could respond, he straightened and walked toward the grand entrance. The gates closed behind him. Emily sat there for a long moment, staring at the massive house. Her heart slowly steadied. Then her phone buzzed. A message from Mrs. Hernandez. Noah says he hopes you're bringing pizza. Emily laughed softly. She put the car in drive. To her, it had just been another repetition of something she practiced every day. Not generosity, not bravery, just habit. And she had no idea that sometimes, the smallest repeated actions echo the loudest. Maybe it was the way the sunlight pushed through the curtains, brighter than usual after the storm. Maybe it was the strange echo of Robert Whitmore's final words. Tomorrow will be interesting. She shook that thought away. Interesting didn't pay rent. Interesting didn't pack school lunches. At subah ke 5:30 baje, the alarm rang. She rolled out of bed, tied her hair into a loose ponytail, and began her routine. Oatmeal on the stove, coffee in the chipped blue mug. Lunchbox packed, sticky note inside, be brave today. Lao, Mom. Noah shuffled into the kitchen, rubbing his eyes. Did you really drive a rich old man home? He asked sleepily. Emily laughed. Yes. Was he like, super rich? I don't know, she said casually, though her heart flickered at the memory of the gates. Noah grinned. Maybe he'll send us $1 million. She smiled and kissed his forehead. Finish your oatmeal, millionaire. By subah ke 9:15 baje, she was at her desk at the hospital billing department, sorting through files and answering emails. The hum of printers and phones filled the room. Everything was normal, until it wasn't. At din ke 10:07, her supervisor, Karen, appeared beside her desk. Karen never left her office unless something was wrong. Emily, she said, voice tight. Emily's stomach dropped. Yes, there's someone here to see you. Me. Her mind raced. Insurance complaint. Mistake. Am I fired? Karen swallowed. You should come to the lobby. The walk down the hallway felt longer than usual. Nurses were whispering. A doctor nearly bumped into a chair while staring toward the entrance. Emily turned the corner, and froze. Standing in the center of the hospital lobby, dressed in a perfectly tailored navy suit, was Robert Whitmore. Not soaked and fragile, not coughing, confident, commanding, surrounded by two assistants. The entire room felt charged. When his eyes landed on her, they softened. Good morning, Ms. Carter. Her mouth opened slightly. What are you doing here? He stepped forward, offering a polite nod. I told you today would be interesting. The lobby had gone completely silent. Emily felt heat rush to her cheeks. You didn't have to, I mean, giving you a ride was nothing. It was not nothing, he replied calmly. He turned slightly, addressing not just her, but the people listening. Last night, in the middle of a storm, dozens of cars passed me. Dozens. Everyone was busy, important, in a hurry. His gaze returned to Emily. But she stopped. Her heart pounded. I didn't know who you were, she whispered. I know, he said gently. That's the point. One of his assistants stepped forward and handed him a slim leather folder. He extended it toward her. Emily hesitated before taking it. Her fingers trembled slightly as she opened it. Inside was an official letter, embossed with the Whitmore Industries crest. She scanned the words, and then scanned them again. Full tuition sponsorship, business administration degree. Paid internship, flexible hours. Healthcare coverage extension. Child education support grant. Her breath caught. I don't understand. Robert's expression was steady, but there was emotion beneath it. I built my company on one principle, he said. Habits create outcomes. Discipline creates success. Consistency creates wealth. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. But somewhere along the way, I forgot the most important habit of all. She looked up at him, eyes glistening. Seeing people. Silence filled the space between them. You saw me as a human being in the rain, he continued. Not an opportunity, not a threat, not a burden. Emily swallowed hard. I almost didn't stop, she admitted softly. But you did, he replied. The weight of the moment pressed into her chest. This isn't charity, he said firmly. It's recognition. I've created a new initiative, investing in individuals who demonstrate integrity without expectation. She blinked through tears. You're the first. A quiet gasp moved through the lobby. Emily felt overwhelmed, not by the offer itself, but by what it meant. All those early mornings, all those small sacrifices, all those quiet choices to stay kind even when she was exhausted. They mattered, not because a billionaire noticed, but because they shaped who she was. I helped you because my mother taught me to, she whispered. She used to say kindness as a muscle. Robert smiled slowly. She was right. He reached into his pocket and handed her a simple business card. Call my office this afternoon. We'll arrange everything. Classes, schedule, support. She stared at the card like it might disappear. You're done, do you owe me anything, he added gently. Just promise me one thing. What? Keep your habit. A tear slipped down her cheek. I will. He extended his hand. She shook it, firm, steady. And just like that, he turned and walked toward the exit, assistants following. The automatic doors slid open, sunlight pouring in behind him. The lobby slowly erupted into whispers. Karen grabbed Emily's arm. Do you have any idea who that was? Emily let out a shaky laugh. Yes. She looked down again at the letter in her hands. Her routine that morning had felt ordinary. But habits, she realized, are like seeds. You plant them daily. You water them with consistency. And one day, without warning, they bloom. That evening, she picked up Noah from school with tears still threatening to spill. Mom, he asked nervously. Are you okay? She knelt in front of him and pulled him into a tight hug. Remember what you said about the $1 million. His eyes widened. Did he send it? She laughed through tears. No, something better. What's better than $1 million? A future, she whispered. And as they walked toward the car, hand in hand, the sky above Seattle felt impossibly clear. The storm was gone, but the habit remained.